Hi, I'm Danny and these are my diecast disasters. In this video I will be restoring and customizing a Matchbox Speed Kings K-48 Mercedes 350 SLC. These were produced by Lesney, England from 1974 until 1981. There was also a police version, number K-61. These are a really awesome looking car in my opinion. So let's take a closer look at what we have to work with. As usual, a lot of the paint is chipped off. The windscreens are pretty rough and scratched, but no cracks. They're in pretty good condition. The interior is in great condition, apart from being a little bit grubby. There's a nice looking motor under the bonnet. That's in good condition. The base is fine. You can read all the writing there if you want. And so the main issue with this car and tricky thing to fix is that this front grille is missing and one of the front headlights. So I'm going to have to think of some way to try and fix that. There are 3 rivets holding the car together, so I drill these out and take it apart. Here's a standard Speed King suspension, the grubby interior, the front bumper and damaged grille section, I have to open the door up to take out the windscreen. Here is the motor and the rear bumper. And I'm just going to leave the doors and bonnet attached for now while I sort out the broken grille. The grille piece I have to replace is about 4mm thick altogether. Here I've cut out a piece of styrene that I'm going to replace it with, but it needs to have the Mercedes sign on the front of it. I'm going to use the grille on the front of this little scaffolding truck. It's about 3mm tall. So I take a piece of putty and I'm going to stick it onto this little piece of steel here and roll it out flat. Now I can take an impression of the front of the scaffolding truck. Here is our cured impression of the front of the scaffolding truck. I now need to transfer it onto this little piece of styrene. I roll up a little tiny piece of putty. This is applied to one of the faces of the styrene and I press it down flat. I gently roll it to make it a little bit flatter and more even. This isn't water soluble putty, so I can put a little dab of water onto my impression as release agent, and then I can carefully press my piece of styrene in and get a base relief of the Mercedes sign. This is left to cure for a little while, and then I can tidy up the rough edges. To remove the chrome from plastic parts, I use a little bit of caustic soda and some hot water from the tap. They are just dropped in and left for about 5 minutes or so. Do not touch the caustic solution as it will burn you. Most of the chrome is gone from the parts, and what's left can be easily rubbed off. So here are our de-chromed plastic parts. You can see that the bumpers are a little bit rough. I'll have to tidy those up. Here is my scratch built grille section. I need to glue this onto the front bumper. Here it is, glued on and reinforced in the back with a little bit of Tamiya putty. Now to tackle the rough edges on the bumpers. I apply a small amount of Tamiya putty around the edges of the bumpers. This will help to fill up the rough surface and any chips and dents. Once this has been left to cure overnight, it's filed and sanded down smooth. The parts were then spray painted with Vallejo metal colour chrome. Back to taking the car apart, I drill out the rivets holding in the little piece that holds the door and the bonnet in place. Paint stripper is used to remove the paint from the casted parts. I use some wire wool and a wire brush on my rotary tool to clean up the castings and remove the oxidation, ready for painting. So here are the parts after burnishing. I notice that the body of the car has a few little pits on it, so I give it a sand with some emery paper. The car was then painted with one coat of Vallejo Mecha Colour metallic blue. Once this had been left to cure for 24 hours, it was detailed and given 3 coats of Tamiya Gloss Clear. Rather than drilling out the rivets and removing the suspension tabs from the base of the car, I simply remove the wheels and axles and then mask off the plastic parts before stripping the paint. I just use some cheap masking tape from the hardware store rather than my expensive Tamiya masking tape for this job. Here is the base after the paint has been stripped. It was then painted with Tamiya gloss aluminium rattle can. The interior of the car is in great condition, although a little bit grubby, so I take it inside and give it a wash in some hot soapy water. Here it is, looking a lot cleaner. It is then painted with 2 shades of blue, detailed and given a coat of clear. Taking a look at the window section, we can see where the headlight is missing at the front. I'm not going to be able to copy the one that's already there. It's got some little tiny lines in it and stuff, so I'm just going to make a couple of new ones out of this piece of windscreen. The actual windscreens are a bit rough and scratched, so I give them a sand and then a polish with some polishing compound. Here it is polished and with the headlights glued on the front. I then give it a dip in some self-shining floor polish. These are the original super fast wheels that were on the car. They are obviously not the greatest looking things in the world, so I'm going to replace them with these other wheels that I've taken off of a toy Ferrari. Here I've made some new axles. They're a bit thicker than the original ones, so I had to file out the slots in the chassis. The original axles holding these wheels to the Ferrari were really fat, so even these larger axles didn't fit. So I had to make some little tiny bearings out of some aluminium tube. Here are the wheels with all of the bearings in place. Here are all of our refurbished parts ready to be put back together. I accidentally forgot to put the motor in this layout. With our parts all tidied up, I simply had to put the car back together. So before we take a look at our finished car, let's take a moment to be reminded of what we started with. Our scruffy old Mercedes 350 SLC has definitely seen better days and is somewhat of a die-cast disaster. It is missing a good percentage of its paint job. It is also missing its front grille and one of the headlights. The windscreen and rear bumper are scruffy and scratched, and the wheels are worn and faded and in need of a replacement. And here is our Mercedes after a restoration and custom makeover. It now looks like a proper sports car with its flash new metallic blue paint job. My scratch built bumper doesn't look too bad, and the driver will be able to see where he's going at night with his new headlight. The windows are no longer faded and scratched, but nice and shiny and clear. And I think my favourite part of this custom are the new wheels. They are heaps better than the original boring Speed King wheels, and they make the car look a lot more realistic. I'm really happy with how this car ended up looking. The metallic blue came out just as I was imagining, and I think my fix for the grille didn't come out looking too bad. This was only one attempt at it, and it came out looking okay, so I think if I'd tried doing it 3 or 4 times, I could have probably got it looking pretty perfect. You can definitely see the idea behind the technique if you wanted to try it on one of your own restorations. With the car off the turntable, we can have a look at the motor that I forgot to put in the layout of parts earlier on. Looking through the driver's door, we can see some of the detailing on the interior of the car. Before I go, I'd just like to say welcome to my new subscribers and a big thanks to everyone for the great comments on my videos. Thanks heaps for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.